Hey everybody, and welcome to the Adobe Dreamweaver tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to create and manage a new website in Adobe Dreamweaver, link a CSS or JavaScript style sheet, and go over some of the main features. So the first thing we want to do is create a new folder. That can be on your desktop or in your documents or wherever you choose to create it, just as long as you know where to locate it at. I'm going to rename mine to My First Website. Alright, now I'm going to open that folder, and on the inside of it I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to name it Images. This is going to be where all the images are located that we're going to use in our website, like headers and backgrounds and logos and all that stuff. So now I can go ahead and I'm going to close out this folder and go ahead and open Adobe Dreamweaver. Now once it loads, it's going to bring up the welcome screen. We don't want to use that because we want to manage or create a new website. So over here you should see this sidebar. If you don't see that sidebar, go up here and click on the window and go down and click Files, and that should bring up this right here. So now over here on the Files, you'll see right here where it says Computer. Yours may not say this exact same thing, but it will have this little bar. We want to click on it and we want to click Manage Sites. It will then bring up this blank screen, or if you have files already in Dreamweaver, it'll have your files in here. We don't have any, so we want to click New. Now it'll bring up this. It says here you'll select a local folder and name for your Dreamweaver site. Your site name could be anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and put mine the same as my folder, My First Website. Now underneath it, it'll say Local Site Folder. This is going to be where your website is saved to each time you save it in Dreamweaver. So we want this to be the same as the folder we just created. So next to it you'll see this folder icon. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to go to the place we saved our folder, which mine was my desktop. So I'm going to select My First Website and then choose it. It now updated that. Now we'll click Save and Done. It now imported that file that we created into Dreamweaver right here, and we can see all we have in it is the images folder that we created. So now we need an HTML folder so that we can start writing HTML for our website. You could use this, but we are going to do it a different way. Over here, let's go ahead and we're going to right click on this folder, the top folder, and click New File. And you'll see it creates an untitled HTML. We're just going to go ahead and name this HTML file index.html. And now we have our HTML folder. We can double click it and it opens up our HTML folder where we can now start coding our website. And you'll see over here in the sidebar it says the type HTML file. So now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and space out this for readability. It already has your, page structure ready to go in here. Alright, so now if I want to link a CSS style sheet to my HTML document, I'm going to come back over here to the side where I created my index.html folder. So I'm going to go back up to this top folder and I'm going to right click it, New File, and it's going to bring another untitled.html. So if I want to change this to a CSS folder, all I got to do is click back here and erase the .html and put in .css, and you'll see it changed the type to CSS file. I don't want it to be untitled CSS, so I'm going to go ahead and type in styles.css. So there's my CSS file. Now we created the CSS file, but we need to link that file to our HTML document. So we can do this manually by entering it all in, link relation style sheet type, and as you can see, Dreamweaver kind of suggests what you're going to be wanting and it considers what you've been typing. So we want text.css, so I'm just going to hit enter, and then we need to link it. So we'll use href, and it'll bring up browse. We can click browse, and it'll bring up our folder that we've created, and it has our index and our styles.css in it. We want to choose styles, and we'll choose it, and now we just got to close it out with a closing bracket. Alright, we now have our CSS styles sheet linked to our HTML document. Now there's a much easier way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and delete that we just entered. And if you go over here to this sidebar where you have your styles.css folder or whatever you named it, we're going to click on that, and we're just going to drag it over here into the head section where we want it linked. And we let go, and here it is. It's already typed in there and linked, and now we have our CSS page linked to our HTML document. Now if you want to link a JavaScript style sheet, we can go back over here, right click that folder, new file, and I'm going to name this one JavaScript, and instead of the .html you want .js for JavaScript, and you can see the type changed to JavaScript file. So then I can go back over here to my HTML document, and I can link it also. It's going to be a style sheet also, only the type right here is going to be text JavaScript instead of CSS. And then I'm going to do my href for a link, and it's going to ask me to browse again. So I'm going to browse, and I'm going to choose a javascript.js file that we just created, and there it is, and now it is linked to our HTML document. So now I will go over some of the main features we have here. If you look up here at the top, you can see it says source code and styles.css. Now the only file we have open is our index.html, but since we linked a CSS style sheet to our document, it automatically puts that file up here next to the source code. So we can click on it, and we see that it has a CSS style sheet, and we can edit all our CSS right here. Now we can also go over here and double click the style sheet, and it opens up that file right here. So now I have the index and the styles. But when we're on index, which is our HTML document, we can still go between the source code, styles, and the same with the JavaScript. It's up here also since it's linked to our HTML document. So that's pretty handy. You can just kind of choose between whichever you want. Now right below that you'll see the code, split, and design views. Now split is half code that you're writing, and over here it shows the codes that you've written. So in our body section, if we've been coding and say we have a heading, so I'll put a heading 1 to show you this example. This is a heading. Now if I go up here and I click this refresh icon, refresh design view, it shows the heading I just put in. So if I put in a heading 6, this is another heading, then I go up here and click refresh, it shows this. So it's kind of, just shows you what it looks like as you're going along. And also you can, instead of having a split, you can just go straight to the design where it's full design, and you can edit your HTML document in this also. So I usually just use the code and check it out with the split or design view. Also, if you look right over here, you'll see the live view. If you click it, you'll see that this moved barely. I'll go to the design view and then click live view. Live view is going to display it just like a web browser would, so it'll be a little different sometimes than your design view. It's always good to check your work in either a live view or an actual web browser as you're going along, because it might be different than what it looks like in just the design view. Right Right over here you'll see this little globe. It says Preview, Debug, and Browser. What this does, if you click on it, it'll bring up, if you have other browsers installed on your computer, like I have Safari and Firefox, and then a couple other Adobe things, but you can just go ahead and right here, instead of having to open up a browser and open your file in order to see it inside the web browser, you can just click one of either any one you want. Usually if you're creating websites, then you have all of the main web browsers downloaded, and you'll check your website in each web browser to make sure that it looks the same instead of being different in one and different in another. So I'm going to go ahead and just preview in Firefox. It's going to ask if you want to save the changes to your work you've done, and just click save, and then it will open and it'll show you your website in a web browser, any web browser you choose. You can see up here in the tab it says Untitled Document, and up here in the browser Untitled Document. If I want to change that, I can go over here to my HTML page, and up here in the head section it says Title. Now all I got to do is go right here, and I can put the name of my website right here, which is my first web page, and I'll put some spaces in this. Now I go back up here and click on the world again and preview in Firefox. It's going to ask me if I want to save, because I just made a change to my document. So I'm going to go ahead and click save, and now if you look in our tab up here, it says my first web page and my first web page. So Dreamweaver really has a lot of useful tools and makes it really a lot easier to enter in information and change it and all that kind of stuff. Another thing that is pretty cool is if you look over here, there's also another refresh button right over here. So say we have an image that we just put in our images folder. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and I have an image on my desktop right here. I'm just going to go ahead and open up my website folder. Say you just created an image in Photoshop or any editing software. You can save that folder to that images folder. Now we have an image in our image folder. I'm gonna go ahead and close this and go back to Dreamweaver. Sometimes if you wait, it'll go ahead and just put the image in there, but also you can click this refresh button, and now we have an image in our image folder right here. So that's pretty cool. Instead of having to close out and reopen everything to get the image to be in there, you just click refresh and it automatically brings the image into the Photoshop or into Dreamweaver. Also, if you look up here, it says get files and put files. This is for if you're connected to a server or a host, then you can go ahead and as you're working on your website or making corrections or changes to it, you can put your files on that server as you go instead of loading them all at once, or you can wait and load them all at once at the end. So that pretty much covers some of the main features of Dreamweaver, but I hope this was useful, and stay tuned and check out some of our other videos we have. Thank you.